Hey guys, welcome to the Big Blue United podcast. My name is TJ. I'm here with Dan and Colin, and we finally got what we asked for. How you guys feeling?
Yeah, I mean, we took down Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
Yep.
that's a bit much, but I think I'm also happy Daniel Jones is gone.
yeah.
I mean, I had to go that extreme just because we've been talking about him in this kind of light for the last 6 years. So,
yep.
I like the Bin Laden comparison better because he's like more like a terrorist than a football
Sure.
terrorist. You know,
that's fair.
I guess like Hitler could be construed as a terrorist too, but yeah, I think just to get the recap for all of our listeners, we left last pod was prior to Daniel Jones being identified as the fourth string quarterback at practice, prior to him playing safety on the practice squad. It was basically right after he put up a huge stinker against
who cares?
Carolina.
Carolina, yeah. It was the Germany game.
Yep.
Hitler again.
So I would like to say for the record that I predicted Tommy DeVito would start over Drew Lock.
You did?
So ask me any questions. I'll tell you what's going to happen.
Well, I mean, it sounds like it's very possible Drew Lock will be starting in that game. So that's...
Yep. As usual, guys, please follow Big Blue United, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Follow us, BBU Pod Boys with a Z on Twitter. Maybe to Blue Sky in the near future. I got to talk to Ian about that one. See, maybe we can start the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, the only thing I had in my notes, Daniel Jones is gone, and then the next thing it says, "What a fucking disaster this has all been."
Yeah, the problem with where we're at now is like we're entering the zone of not knowing whether or not there's been a frank conversation with ownership about, the full-on tankathon, which the fact that Joe Shane is just like posted up in Colorado for the last 3 months kind of makes me feel like it's possible that it's all good that we're losing all this much.
Yeah, I mean, that was our assumption, right? Like we said, if they were going to act this way and make these decisions, there must have been sort of that discussion held behind closed doors. But I think at the same time, we anticipated just imploding in this way with how bad they'd been playing prior to benching Daniel Jones and even post. But when you're watching it happen in real time, you're like, man, this is really tough. Like, I don't see how anyone survives this, even if like theoretically we planned it out to be this way. It's still like it's the same thing. It's like they're going to lose. How do they keep the locker room together? And it doesn't seem like they're keeping the locker room together very well.
Well, that's the biggest thing. Like, it's one thing if you can be like, convince Mara, like, listen, we're probably going to lose out, and that's great for our draft potential. However, it's going to be very difficult to keep the players behind the coaching staff, thinking that this is worthy of a staff to rally behind next year. I don't know how you do that. It's such a precarious dance,
Yeah.
Do you guys think that if the Giants put up a decent performance against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, that saves Dable's job, and vice versa? If they absolutely shit the bed, do you think he gets fired when the plane lands? I mean, how much? I'm just thinking, like, in terms of the rest of the schedule. How much?
I don't think he gets fired
in
this
season.
Game
has? Okay,
he doesn't get fired in season. Period.
Correct. I agree.
But I don't have full confidence that he'll be retained regardless of the outcome of the season. I feel like that's something that Mara tends to do. Is he feels like his franchise is an embarrassment, but he will clean house despite what he says.
And put the blame on Dable, and that's why I think Shane will ultimately end up sticking around. There's far too many people on the internet who think that the entire thing should be cleaned completely, which I think that's extreme considering the circumstances. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, can you throw some things on there that Shane did look like he did a lot of bad things? Like a lot of incorrect things. Yeah, I suppose, but I don't know. Maybe it's possible that people didn't realize just how far away this team has been from being relevant in terms of like a winning side. Do
you think that? Do you think there is a scenario where Mara forces Dable to be gone and Shane keeps his job?
I do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I feel like, and unfortunately, only in the sense that it's not great to get rid of a coach and the GM at the same time. You know,
I will say this though. I think in watching Hard Knocks this offseason, I think we gave Shane the benefit of the doubt a lot, and we're like, there must have been other conversations, or they must be like acting this out. And like, the more we see it, the more I'm like, maybe that was like the depth of like analysis and the depth of research that went on. Maybe they are just sort of like going with a feel rather than, real, strategic.
But it didn't seem like they acted that way in Buffalo, so that's what's strange.
Well, he was just an assistant,
He
wasn't running the show.
I mean, you're assistant GM. You think you're doing something. I just think it's funny that we're bringing up making decisions based on feel. And the one thing that we were also happy about was going from a guy who never used a computer in his life to them building this like state of the art place to do the draft in their stadium. And now we're questioning if this is really analytically based at all again.
I mean, what was that thing we keep seeing about just the players that we've drafted being regarded as quality players? Their college tape looks good, and they just come here and they die. Like, what's next? What is it? Just bad luck? Are we just getting lemons of players, or is it our coaching?
I mean, this year the draft is looking a lot better than it has in the past, so that's a nice little step in the right direction, I guess. But yeah, I think coaching has a big to do with it. I mean, well, that's the strangest thing. And you want to talk about like heart of players and stuff. Beginning of the season towards the middle, there were big advancements in terms of like how the defense looked and how the offensive line was being put together. And now all of a sudden they both look like garbage, which I think is just a matter of players quitting on the situation.
It's what we've been saying for years. Is like, if you're putting up 10 to 15 points a game, like, it's hard to keep your enthusiasm as a defensive player or a non-skilled player. I would think, like, no matter what you do, the guys that are supposed to put points on the board are going to fail you.
It's just funny to have gone, especially on defense. I mean, there were a couple games where the Giants looked really good, especially in the front with the pack. I mean, they were leading the league in sacks, I think, for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I can't pinpoint what has gone wrong. And I mean, this is more indicative of what you were saying too. Just there's no particular thing or variable in the experiment that hasn't been changed that you could pinpoint is like, this has been the continuity, other than the fact that it's the New York Giants and it has the same owner. So I know we like to lament Mara all the time, but I mean, he doesn't have anything to do with the player development, you would imagine, or like the direct coaching of these guys and stuff like that. So what is the issue with just the New York Giants, with the players that they've drafted who have gone elsewhere and been better, and then with players who have been playing well this year that all of a sudden just fall the F off as well? And it all has to just come down to individual effort, right? I mean, what else could it possibly be?
Well, I mean, Dan knows this because not to bring this into the world of soccer for any reason, but there are certain clubs that are just snake bitten, cursed, and will never or seemingly never get out of their own way, even though things look like they're in line. And the 2 clubs that Dan and I support in the Premier League are exactly that. So we know what this looks like, and it's like sort of starting to happen on the American football side of things. And when you can't, well, I mean, it has to follow us around, obviously, but like it gets to a certain point where you have to ask yourself, is there this ethereal thing out there floating around, the black cloud over a franchise situation, where why can't anybody figure out how to drag us out of it?
It's a great question. And, you can't even lament us too bad. I mean, we've won 4 Super Bowls. That's more than most teams in the league. But just recently, it's been terrible. I mean, I think there is usually decent parity in this league, just how, they base the salary cap and the draft on. But you're right, Colin. Sometimes teams just end up sucking. The Giants and the Jets are great examples of teams who just absolutely sucked for so long. I mean,
we're the new
Lions. The Lions finally look good. It only took them 100 years.
Yeah, I know.
So maybe we have the hope to turn this around in the next 100 years or so.
Well, it's funny. I brought my mother to her one game of the year this past Sunday, and that she said something like that. She was just like, "Well, maybe in your lifetime there'll be a good team," and she'll laugh when she listens to this because we both laughed. And I said, "No." I tried to spin it in some positive way, I'm sure, and then we ended up leaving before we left right as soon as the fourth quarter started. So that was better than it has been this year.
You stuck it out, man. I would have been gone at halftime.
Yeah.
That shit
Well,
show.
it's the one game a year she goes to. We were having a good time. We did a little bit of tailgating in the sense of just eating some sandwiches, and she had her Chardonnay and I had my Miller Lights, and we enjoyed ourselves. So it was good in that sense. And the same guys that always sit directly in front of us were there, so she got to meet them too, and it was fine. What was cool about this game in particular is I went into it almost with a weight off my shoulders, and it's number 8 was off my shoulders. So
yeah,
I didn't care what happened. They somehow did manage to make me sick anyway, which I don't know why I'm surprised.
Credit where credit's due. They find a way.
It's only fair for us that we finally, after all these years, get rid of Daniel Jones, the one thing that we've wanted the most, and then you go into basically the worst game that you've watched since they were running sneaks on the 20-yard line.
I think we should start doing that again.
Yeah, I mean, might as well. Just punt every time.
Yeah.
Punt on first down.
I want a Jamie Gillen masterclass from here on out.
Jamie Gillen is going to have the most punt yards in NFL history if we were doing this right. But I'm sure all of the distraction of Daniel Jones leaving the team didn't help them any playing this game, and it was obvious. I don't think at any point during this game did they not look like completely lost. Maybe one of the worst football teams I've ever seen in my life. Zero facet of any part of this game did they look competent at all.
That was
totally unwatchable.
That was one main point that Tiki had on one of his shows after the game about, it was only a blurb that I heard, but he was basically like, the one thing, like, I get letting Jones go. It's the timing of it that didn't make any sense to me. And it was because you had the whole bye week. You could have done it right at the beginning of the bye week. It would have been quiet for a week. You didn't have a game. You would have given the players some time to, let it sink in, prepare themselves. Yes, I guess maybe they may have already known. Who knows?
Didn't he request to be released?
Yes, and it was granted as like a show of good faith, all that kind of stuff.
Where they fumbled it is putting him as a safety on the scout team defense and having him do 4th reps behind a guy in the practice squad they just signed 2 days ago.
Yeah.
You can be benched and not be totally embarrassed by your team about it too.
Was a little odd.
Some really weird coaching choices, and to just jump to DeVito over Locke, I think was also a strange choice. I get it. The fans like DeVito. Other than that, I don't see what the point of that was. Especially you're paying Julock. Is it because of the escalators in Julock's contract? Is that the reason why he's not going to play? Is it just trying to save money? I could see that.
Yeah. I do have to say that I brought my mom to the Casamigos bar, which used to be the Jameson bar directly behind our section, because they have Guinness there. It's the closest Guinness I can get, so I'm going to get it there. We go in, we're standing around drinking, and I see this moron with a rat tail in like Elvis looking sunglasses, and instantly it hit me. I was like, Mom, that's Tommy DeVito's dad right there. That's him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it was. And we followed him out the door because we happened to be walking out at the same time. And, there he goes walking up to the rest of the family. And that's, they're bozos. They look like bozos. Yeah. And they stood up. I was this close to asking my mother if she wanted to put money down on it. I said, they're going to stand up for as long as it seems like it's possible that they're going to get on TV. Because that's why they're standing up. So they're at the back row of their section, and they're just standing up. And once the game got really bad, I looked up, and there was like maybe one or two of them still standing, and it was the agent with the fedora, and I was like, oh, good. That's great. They didn't look happy. It was interesting. It was fun. Something
they need to do a crossover with Big Justice and the Rizzler. Get them involved.
I'm sure it's in the plans. I mean, you should have seen this guy. Like, there was one thing, like the family looked a certain way last season, but his dad looked like he was ready for prime time. Like he was
king of the Meadowlands,
king of New Jersey or something. I don't know, but yeah,
I'll say this
that's
about
nothing special. King of New Jersey.
Wow. That's Dan.
King of the swamp.
That's me. I'm taking over.
Yeah.
The only argument that made any sense to me, like I over the past 2 weeks, they were saying everything to try to justify DeVito. The only thing that makes logical sense to me was that Drew Lock won't be on the team next year, and they need to find out if DeVito could be a actual backup quarterback.
Sure.
I hate that narrative. Well,
none of the other ones make sense.
That's the only one that makes sense.
They said that he outplayed him in the preseason, and
you want to know who Tommy DeVito is? He's an undrafted free agent who, has some personality, but he's not the answer to your football team's needed quarterback.
Do you know how the fan is officially dead? When you have this Tommy Lugauer character who used to be, I think, basically an intern, basically saying, I think I sent the tweet to you guys, how, he feels like Tommy DeVito has a chance to be the number one quarterback for the next 10 years. He literally said that. It's just like, guy, are you high?
Yeah.
I think, you sent that to me. That's what I was thinking about a bit too. And I just said, it's just a ridiculous statement to me.
Like, come on, guy. Like I know that sounds like a good story and everybody would like that to be the case. But hey, if he ends up being good enough to be a direct backup quarterback, that's wonderful. You save a bunch of money. You never have to pay the kid. But I don't even know if he's going to be given a chance to even look like he could do that with how the line performed this past Sunday, because that was, speaking of which, I think our center officially stinks, man. He's not good. I wanted him to be terrible. Good. He is the Minnesota suck boy for sure.
And you know what's funny? He will probably, he won't have a fifth. He was a second round pick, so he doesn't have an option 4-year deal. He'll probably go to another team and be awesome.
Of course he will. Of course he will. He'll bulk up. He'll get great, and he'll be the best center in the league.
Just like Giants legend Matt Pert, Will Hernandez, among other dudes who went to other teams and all of a sudden looked like competent and they could play.
Do you remember when that used to not happen? It used to be like the other Steve Smiths of the world that would go somewhere else and just suck. And it was just like, you leave the Giants. That was the program. It was the system you're in. You can't do it again. And now it's going the other way.
Eli made a lot of tight end and wide receivers' careers look a lot better than they were.
Will Tye.
Kevin Boss. Who else is like the Kevin Boss type guy? There's so many.
It was the Kevin Boss after the Kevin Boss.
Ballard, yeah.
Ballard, yep.
Anyway,
Bear Pasco.
Bear Pasco, yeah. Beautiful, Dan. Bear Pasco, what a throwback.
Good blocker.
Yeah. I do want to talk a little bit about the draft, specifically quarterback or free agency. I'm just, we're sitting at number 2 right now. I know I sent this to you guys. I'll just tell the audience as well. Jaguars have the first pick.
But isn't it technically first now? I sent that thing the other day. That
I think that was wrong with what you sent us because the strength of schedule, their Jaguars is harder than ours.
Okay.
So Jaguars are playing Texans, Titans twice, Jets, Raiders, Colts. We have Cowboys, Saints, Ravens, Falcons, Colts, Eagles. Their schedule is soft as hell. And I could see us not winning another game this year and the Jags losing. I mean, the Jags at least, potentially splitting with the Titans, Raiders, and Jets. They could definitely win both those games too.
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew's out for the year now. Not that he was anything special.
It's a bummer, though.
But they're getting that Fat Stachio guy back in, Aiden O'Connell.
Oh, Fat Stachio. Yeah.
What do they call him? Akon and Young Jeezy?
Oh, is that a thing?
I mean, that's what I would call him, Akon.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, I mean.
So I mean, like, are you guys married to the idea of the Giants drafting a quarterback with their first pick? And do you think they have to draft? They have to have the number 1 pick to get their quarterback in the future? could you see a situation where a bridge guy is signed and they, pick best player available or trade down? I'm just curious. I think the narrative now is that the Giants need the number 1 pick to draft a quarterback, but those things, I don't know if that's necessarily the best option for them right now.
I think the first thing we have to figure out before we go into this thought experiment is, are we assuming Shane and Dable are running it? Because if they're not, I think the bridge quarterback thing is more plausible.
Let's stick with what John Mara said. He wasn't going to fire them. Don't know if that's reality or not, but yeah.
Okay, so they're here. All right, if that's the case, honestly, I see a bridge quarterback and drafting a quarterback.
For sure. But would you draft, if you get a bridge quarterback, would you draft him with the first round pick? Or
I would.
I just don't. Is Shooter Sanders the number 1 pick? And is he worth the number 1 pick in an NFL draft, or is he just the best quarterback?
And is he going to be in Happy Gilmore too?
Yeah.
Shooter Sanders?
Yeah, Shooter Sanders. Is he going to be in Happy Gilmore?
Shooter.
Oh, Shooter McGavin.
Well,
yeah.
Sanders. I get it.
Yeah, because
I actually whenever I take notes and I write Joe Shane, I always write Shane. And for Shooter, I absolutely wrote Shooter like SHOOTER.
So this is the problem. It's your notes. It's not your heritage and your father. It is the notes that you write.
I just can't write Joe Shane like the actual spelling and not say Showen when I read it.
That's fair. I
just can't do it. Anyway, so is Shooter? Is he the number 1 pick? And like, I don't know. It's weird to me where the draft is right now, just in terms of the talent at the top. And I don't think that. I wish this draft would be more of the draft a few years ago when Kenny Pickett was the first quarterback picked. Yeah. There are better prospects here, but there was never a time when people were like the top 5 picks are going to be quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is kind of what this draft is leaning towards too. But there's just so many teams who are desperate for a signal caller that I do sort of see this going in a way where a lot of teams might get burned by picking one of these guys too early.
Well, and also, is this one of those like, hey, we're over here in Colorado, but we really like Cam Ward? Is it one of those kinds of situations? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I think things always shuffle out during the pre-draft process. Like Anthony Richardson jumping up like 4 rounds and Jaden Daniels jumping up 2 rounds. Like a lot of stuff can happen. I think looking at them now, Shedeur Sanders is probably like the most pro-ready, or probably the most like safest and pro-ready of the 3, I guess, main ones if we're thinking about Cam Ward and Jalen Milroe.
Yeah.
Milroe is like an Anthony Richardson type, right? Like you can't.
Yep.
I don't think a team that is in the position of the Giants could feel good about that unless they have a bridge quarterback and see something in him.
Milroe needs to sit. And they're going to be clamoring for him to start day 1, which is not going to be good for him.
Well, what's the deal though of like spending so much time in Colorado? It's like kind of bordering on bizarre.
The thing that's I mean, if you know what that indicates to me is that means John Mara is totally out of decision making.
You think so?
If Shedeur Sanders is a real viable option for them.
Well, yeah, you're right.
He's the last kind of quarterback he would ever want.
It's true.
Well, I don't like him at all.
That lends to the point of clearly that they're going to be back next year. If that is the case and that's the way we're looking at it, Dan, there you go. They wouldn't let him fly out there so much to spend all the time with Dion and this kid if he wasn't going to be the one making the decision in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, I was reading Brandon Brown loves him. So there's that too.
Well, he was out there too. It was him and Jesse Armstead was the other guy.
Shane was out there too.
Well, Shane, the 3 of them, I mean.
Brandon Brown's the only guy I trust in that front office.
Yeah.
They should fire Shane just to promote him.
I'm down with that.
They won't. They won't do that.
Well, if Shooter Sanders is a possibility to be drafted on the Giants, then Brandon Brown is a possibility to be a GM of the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, this could be the long-term Jerry Reese kind of situation again, not just because they are both African-American men, but like, it very well could be a let's see how it goes down the line and promotional kind of situation in a couple of years and see what happens. If Brandon Brown even sticks around that long, he might even go get another job himself.
Yeah, you're right. Part of me would love to see Justin Fields have a shot in the Giants.
Yeah.
I don't know how well he'll perform without, a great offensive line or supporting cast, but I would love to see him and maybe not reach for a quarterback up top. I think Shooter is going to be good, but I don't like him as a person, so I don't want him to be a Giant. That being said, I do want to win games, but I'd almost rather pick a cornerback, Will Johnson or something up top, and then trade out maybe to pick a quarterback in the later first round or trade down.
It's funny how we are talking about suggestions we made 2 years ago, or right now, in Justin Fields or a Baker Mayfield, like we said 3 years ago, or all these other things. I agree, TJ. I sort of have been warming up to the idea of not taking a quarterback in the first round, doing a bridge quarterback with, I guess someone like Justin Fields. And then I think Nussmeier from
that's who I like him too, Dan. I like him a lot too.
Nice in the second or third if you could get him there. I have a feeling he'll shoot up and be one of those guys that they take in the 20th pick.
Why do you like him more now? Because I feel like he wasn't as hot.
He doesn't have a lot of experience, but he's very much like a decision makes can read defenses and get through his progressions and throw accurate passes kind of guy.
Prototypical pocket passer, has all those skills, great arm, and I think that his biggest knock is that he needs to sit, and
these boys are good neighbors.
Yeah.
And also, he's a Mara guy.
He's a huge Mara guy, yeah. I mean, he's such a typical doofy big white man with a strong arm. Yeah. But I mean, he to me, if Daboll is as good as he actually is, considered, this is a good prospect for him to coach up, and he needs to sit for a little while. So if you have Justin Fields for a year or two while he sits and learns the game a little bit, I think that's a positive thing. Then you can win games. You have your quarterback. You can win games. You don't have to be wanting to lose constantly every year to get a good draft pick.
But if I was to do that route, I think we might have talked about this before, but I would then trade out of the second pick or first pick, whatever we have.
Yeah.
Get 2026 first round pick, get as many of those, as much draft equity in that draft as I could.
Yeah.
So that way I can take the best quarterback in that draft, regardless of where I end up drafting.
Yeah, whether that's
if you're picking 12th, if you have picks 6, 7, and 12 in the 2026,
well,
you can probably get up to 1.
Absolutely.
I know I texted you this. I think there was a couple of weeks ago now when the Shador talk has started to heat up a little bit with all these visits out there. But it is totally unreasonable. But there is some strange sick side of me that wants to see Deion Sanders wearing a Giants hat. I need it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It just feels like it would be so satisfying.
How about you draft Shooter with your first pick, and then you draft the other, I don't even know his name, the safety with your last pick.
Travis Hunter.
Oh,
no, Shiloh.
Shiloh Sanders.
Get both Sanders on the team.
No, let's just draft Deion. Let's get him back into the game.
Wasn't that like a commercial? Like before Eli did it? Deion pretended to be a young guy to get drafted again?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. I mean, let's just make him GM while we're here.
Well, there's options. That's what's cool about I know we're in the doldrums and this is awful, but it's not awful like it was a couple of years ago. This is a different kind of awful where we just need to get through it. And then once we're through it and then we're in the off season, honestly, I'd feel a hell of a lot better if we didn't blow the whole thing up like many, many people want to do at this point. I think a lot of people would change their perspective when they realize that, okay, it's continuity. Maybe there'll be some coaching staff changes here and there, but nothing huge. And the guys are actually allowed to do what they've been probably told that they were going to have a chance to do, possibly. And that is get all of the guys that they want.
I mean, Shane Bowen, I think, doesn't survive no matter what. but
He might not.
that remains to be seen.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mostly, and I read that a lot of the biggest qualms about that guy is his vanilla defense. We went from this exotic, insane Wink Martindale defense to pretty much the most milquetoast, boring scheme-wise, at least the perspective of some people who know that sort of thing. And maybe there needs to be something a little bit in between and not just extremes of one or the other.
Yeah.
They had success blitzing. I don't know why they got away from that. I mean, the secondary is atrocious, especially Deonte Banks is terrible at football. I'm hoping, maybe it's an effort thing for him as well, as we've been talking about. Doesn't really bode well for him in the future, but it's tough. I mean, I don't know what they're doing. And it's odd to me, too, because you have two linebackers and up front, the guys in the front, especially if you have Dexter Lawrence taking up space and you have two really good linebackers. Their run defense should not be this bad.
You're right.
It's just really bad. And I can't put my finger on why that is.
Well, I did see that for the first time all season, your boy Roach Clip was playing more snaps than Dex, but that apparently Dexter had a little bit of an injury, a knock, if you will. But I guess he's fine. But that was a little odd when I think it was Dan Duggan threw that out there. There was like a very peculiar thing. You would think your best player on the entire team would get more snaps than his.
He just got hurt a little bit. I mean, I think that the second highest rated guy on the team was DJ Davidson too. So
he's been playing
Dexter
more.
Lawrence and DJ Davidson, your two interior defenders, are your number one and number two best performing guys in your team, and your run defense is absolutely atrocious.
I know.
It's interesting.
It's bizarre, and I don't know what the hell that is, to be honest. It doesn't really make much sense. I mean, Bobby Okereke had himself kind of a stinker this past Sunday. He did not look the greatest.
He's been a little streaky this year.
I don't know.
McFadden had a great game, though. So, I mean,
he did.
One of them steps up if one of them's streaky. I mean, they usually don't both have a good game at the same time, unfortunately. But
it's true.
I don't know. It's just an interesting dynamic to just see a team just absolutely fall apart when they had the same personnel, the same coaching, and then they're leading the league in sacks, as I said before, and then several games later, they're giving up 300 yards in a half.
How do you deal with that? The heart of a team, like how do you keep that going in such an awful circumstance like this? It's so tough.
I don't think you can the rest of this year. I think the most important thing is to come back next year and, hammer in, this is a new team every year, blah, blah, blah.
Damon's going to have to do a Tom Coughlin reinvention of his program.
Probably. I mean,
because it's not working.
Well, let's talk about Neighbors and his comments that personally I feel no qualms, no problem with the things that he said. There are a lot of really dumb boomer-sounding morons out there that think he's, another one with his sassiness. He's just a rookie. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It's like, okay, and he's not allowed to be a human being? You saw the interview that he had with Dable pre-draft where he basically told you right there how he was going to react to certain things and situations like not getting thrown the ball all in a half. So what you're surprised? He told you already. It's all out there. He's mad because he wants to contribute and he wasn't allowed. So he tells you to go talk to the coach. Whether it is Dable's fault or if it was, DeVito just not looking his way enough, or if the play calls just were dictated a certain way, who the hell knows? But when you start the second half and the first three passes are directly to Neighbors, what was the problem in the first half?
I have no problems with anything he said. I agree with you, Colin. It's a bad situation right now. People are frustrated. And, if you say, oh, he's a rookie, he doesn't know anything. Yeah, he is a rookie. He doesn't know anything. He's 20, 21, 22 years old. He wants to contribute. He wants to win. And he, didn't want to play for the Giants before he was drafted because they suck, and he wanted to play with a good quarterback where he could get the football and make a difference. Not that he hasn't not made a difference at certain times during this season, but I'm sure his rookie year has been far from what he envisioned it could be.
I mean, he's breaking records though. At least that's cool.
He was on pace to be doing those things. I don't think that pace continues the rest of the season.
Well, he's already broken the record of most receptions by a rookie in their first 9 games, which is pretty sweet.
Sure. I mean, through 9 games, that's cool. I mean, we'll see. Like at the end of the year, it'd be cooler if he had that.
Yeah.
Of course. We got the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Are you thankful for that?
Not particularly.
It sucks that I'm going to have to pay any attention to football on Thanksgiving because I want to have a good time, and the Giants are going to get absolutely destroyed by the Cowboys, who are coming off a game where they finally looked alive, where, you know, I know we're all looking forward to a Cooper Rush versus Tommy DeVito game. Everyone's been waiting for that all season. Cooper Rush did look pretty good, though, last game. I mean, I think the Giants have a better shot to win if Drew Lock actually plays and Tommy DeVito's hurt. I think Tommy DeVito will play. I think any opportunity he gets, he's going to try to take it. He's going to try to play that game for sure.
Who would you rather as your starting quarterback, Cooper Rush or Daniel Jones?
Cooper Rush, obviously.
That's
I don't know.
Started to digress from the Thanksgiving Day game, but any thoughts on Daniel Jones still being available on waivers already through Tuesday?
The last I saw, it seemed that the Vikings were a very real possibility, and we could know as early as tomorrow. And people are making big jokes about how this is like the worst version of LeBron's decision going to Miami.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one yet. That's good.
Yeah, they've been superimposing his face on LeBron's shoulders in the picture on ESPN in that stupid collared shirt that he was wearing. And it's just like, why does anybody give a shit what team he goes to?
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, well, if he didn't get picked up by anybody, that'd be hilarious. But he's gonna.
That's what I was hoping for.
I mean, I feel like the Ravens are the best spot for him.
Why?
I don't know, because he can run, and I guess just because he can run.
Okay.
So they don't have to. They can call some similar plays, I guess. I mean, I could just see Lamar getting hurt in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. Daniel Jones coming in, throwing a beautiful ball down the field that's intercepted, and the Ravens lose the game.
Yeah.
Well,
last minute.
I think it was what's his name from Talking Giants, Justin.
Bobby? Justin.
Justin. Pennick, is it?
Yes.
I believe.
Yeah, Pennick.
He said the Ravens have the chance to do the funniest thing ever, signing Daniel Jones when we play the Ravens on December 8th. Lamar goes down with an ankle injury, and here he comes out onto the field at MetLife Stadium for his first time since he was released. And boy, there's a part of me that sort of wants that to happen in the worst way, and for me to be there to see it.
I think the tweet was not that Lamar goes down; it's that they're beating them so badly.
37-7 in the fourth quarter. Sorry, yes, I poorly paraphrased.
I mean, that's a more likely scenario, I think.
Absolutely,
because they would actually have to hit Lamar Jackson for him to get hurt, and I don't foresee that happening.
I don't think he's not going to go to the Ravens. Though. He wants to go to somewhere where he thinks that they can make him a better quarterback. So that's why it's like the Vikings.
Yeah.
Or like everyone was saying the 49ers, but 49ers probably don't want that guy.
Or the most obvious thing ends up happening is he just ends up going to the Panthers and just dwindles into obscurity and then just stays at home forever.
Yeah.
Never leaves his house again.
No, that's it.
Absolute shame. Anything else tonight, guys?
I think we got to keep our heads up here. It's now that we finally got that dude off the team. Try to keep the blinders up with that, because that was the first step in the right direction. We needed to rid ourselves of him, and frankly, we never could have seen this coming. We would have figured he was going to stick around for the rest of the season and really make us hurt, but he's not here anymore. So the bad man is gone.
Yeah, there is some hope for the future, perhaps.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones has been put out to pasture.
Oh, God.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening tonight, guys. Follow Big Blue United, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Follow us, BBU Pod Boys with a Z, to see when the new podcasts come out. And we will see you next time.
Let's go, Tim Boyle.
Boyle!